Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and as we're continuing on the arc of Mr. TARDIS in the hotel, as you can see behind me, I've actually bought a hanging organiser for my clothes. This is what happens when you're going to be spending the next 4 or 5 weeks living in a hotel. I'm in my Alan Partridge Travel Tavern era. But speaking of arcs, this one for the 7th Doctor range from Big Finish, see what I did there, is coming to an end in the 7th Doctor Adventures box set, Past Forward. For the past couple of years, the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy, has been travelling with companions Naomi Cross and Harry Sullivan, played by Eleanor Crooks and Christopher Naylor respectively. The release of these box sets has been a bit weird because they haven't been taking place in chronological order with Naomi and Harry as characters. The actual order of things is that the 4th Doctor travelled with Naomi and Harry, then drops them off in the wrong place, and then they have their own adventures with UNIT. And then the 7th Doctor picks them up and tries to get them back to their own proper time. However, the UNIT stories came first, and then the 4th and 7th Doctor box sets have been alternating releases, with the 4th Doctor ones recorded like 5 years ago but I've only just seen release, with the 7th Doctor releases coming out in dribs and drabs over the past 2 years. It's been a bit awkward to follow, but we are now seeing the end of that arc, which concludes with a trilogy of stories. We have With the Angels Part 1 by John Dorney, then Catastrophix with Lizzie Hopley, which sees the departure of Harry and Naomi, and then the box set concludes with the Angels Part 2, also by John Dorney, which concludes what the start of the box set was setting up, except the 7th Doctor is now joined by Ray, played by Sarah Griffiths. And when I say Ray, I mean Ray from Delta and the Bannerman, the story that was broadcast nearly 40 years ago. We did see a teaser of the 7th Doctor and Ray as a TARDIS duo a couple of months ago in the Classic Doctor New Monsters box set, where it was a Krillitane story with the 7th Doctor and Ray. It just kind of shows how strange things have clearly been going on behind the scenes for these box sets to have been released in such a strange order, but we're here now. And when it comes to With the Angels, I'm going to go into mild spoilers because there's a few things I really want to talk about that are not in the plot synopsis, but I won't give anything away major plot-wise or any twists and turns or anything, but there's some fundamental story decisions that I really want to dive into, and I feel like I can't in a fully spoiler-free environment. So I won't spoil the plot, but I will allude to some setup and some themes and some elements here. So the box set opens with the 7th Doctor, Harry and Naomi landing in 1999 London. UNIT immediately finds them suspiciously quickly and bring them in to help with a mission because there's a weeping angel on the loose. And what's happened here, and this is one of the most unique applications of the weeping angels that I've seen in some time, is that a rich sculptor has taken a weeping angel statue and has essentially dismantled it and dismembered it and turned it into a chess set, with each piece on the chessboard being its own separate weeping angel. And this chess set has now appeared at auction, and a member of the Bladukas family, this business empire family which have clearly taken notes from Succession, you've got the youngest son Irving, played by Josh Cowdery. He's wanting to buy the chess set in order to impress his father. The Doctor and UNIT intervene in the auction, but Irving will stop at nothing to get his hands on this chess set.
The case is a stasis field. Well, 32 stasis fields, to be exact.
One per angel.
Locking them in time. Whoever built this wanted to be very safe indeed.
Can't say I blame them.
And that's why they're screaming.
Well, they live in time, feed on it, so it's not exactly helpful. But no, that's not the reason. The reason is far worse.
Do I want to hear it?
You want to know where this set comes from, Captain? How you get 32 weeping angels in the shape of chess pieces?
That's what I said.
You take one angel and carve it up.
That's horrible.
But it's a living being.
And now it's 32 living beings.
No.
Yes, sculpted into a monster's simulacrum of their original self. Then, for good measure, half appears to have been temporarily inverted, like a photonegative. The black pieces, you understand. I heard some of the screams echo into the future. That explains it. That's where those ones send you, not the past. One self ripped asunder, heading always in different directions. Abominable.
It's such a brilliant idea to have a Weeping Angel be split up into separate parts for this chess set. But what's even more perfect is that it's happening to the 7th Doctor, the master manipulator, the character who in Silver Nemesis is literally playing with a chess set as a metaphor for his character as he manipulates all of the elements and the people around him because he's coordinating his own strategy and his own game. And what John Dorney has done in this particular box set with both parts of With the Angels is that he's basically taken that manipulative 7th Doctor element to its most logical extreme, and it tests the 7th Doctor's resolve, and it kind of makes him confront what he's been doing to his friends and his family. The box set opens with him landing in 1999, and the Doctor gets a feeling like someone's walked over his grave because in the TV movie in 1996, it's in 1999 when the 7th Doctor is killed. And the 7th Doctor starts getting a sense that he's coming to the end of this incarnation, he's coming to the end of this life, and it kind of rubs him the wrong way. I've got a feeling that we're going to see this character element played out over more upcoming future box sets, but it's such an interesting idea, and while I can't really give away what's happening, I just love the idea that the 7th Doctor is treated as one of the chess pieces that he is so freely willing to manipulate. And Sylvester McCoy is on top form in this box set because that clearly frustrates him. He doesn't like being the chess piece, and he kind of sees, oh, this is what I've been doing to everybody. This is the force of nature that is time that I have been coordinating. I hate this. And whether or not there will be any sort of self-reflection or anything else moving forward as he departs with Harry and Naomi and he moves forward with Ray, that obviously remains to be seen, but it's starting from a very interesting place. I also really like Harry and Naomi in this box set, but I feel like with Naomi in particular, there seems to be paying off a lot of character arcs and paying off a lot of ideas that haven't really been set up in prior box sets. Now, I'm not a Naomi Cross completionist. I've only really listened to her adventures with the 4th and the 7th Doctors, so I don't really know what's been happening with UNIT. But the 7th Doctor has deliberately landed in 1999, a few decades removed from where Naomi Cross came from, and is like, would you rather be here? Would you rather be in the future? Because this is apparently something that Naomi has been considering, but it just hasn't been in the text for the past few box sets. Harry Sullivan is stoic, polite, stiff upper lip. He really is like an old-fashioned gentleman, whereas Naomi Cross is a working-class woman of colour who doesn't really feel like she belongs in the time period she came from, and maybe she'd rather be dropped off in the future. Great idea, and it's a really cool Doctor-companion dynamic and a great companion contrast with this unspoken aspect and conflict between Harry and Naomi that they're too polite to bring up. But this hasn't been in the text of the past few box sets, and you know, it's great that it's technically paying off here, but where was this set up before? It's not a deal breaker, but this box set spends a lot of time on those character moments, and it's like, have I missed like an entire other box set here? Because I feel like I'm not really in on the bit, and that's kind of a shame. But I really love Harry and Naomi here, and they really are pushed to the extreme when it comes to travelling with the ultimate manipulator Doctor in his 7th incarnation. And with Naomi in particular, it really pushes her faith and her trust in the Doctor. Harry and Naomi's last scene together in this story is brilliantly performed. Christopher Naylor is terrific in the scene, and the implementation of the Weeping Angels is really creative and brilliant for audio. Some genuine edge-of-your-seat thriller stuff, really great scares. I really like the idea that in chess you have the white and the black pieces, and the white Weeping Angel pieces, they'll send you back in time, but the black Weeping Angel pieces, they'll send you forward in time. And the way that that's applied over the box set, really creative. I loved that idea. If there's an element that feels a bit undercooked, it is the Bladukas family. And I think what John Dorney has done is that he's used the shorthand of Succession and has basically let that carry the characters. I think they're all well performed and they're obviously very distinct, but with the exception of Irving, none of them are really well fleshed out, and I think Kiva in particular is completely thrown to one side in part 2. The inciting incident is Irving wanting to get the chess set because he used to be able to beat his dad at chess when he was growing up, and it's the thing that he's really proud of, but in this box set it's all tell and don't show. I was kind of waiting for a scene when the two would play a game with the Weeping Angel chess set, but no, they just yell out the exposition across a crowded room. The thing about Succession is that it's effective shorthand, but Succession is an ensemble cast, whereas with this, it's just Irving who really gets any sort of development and characterization. But the comparison falls a little bit flat. However, the utility of the characters to get everything in place really effective. But there's also a really nice subplot where you've got this unit agent who Irving is trying to bribe into getting the chess set, and I thought that was a nice little mini arc in the story. I think that With the Angels, both part 1 and part 2, very, very effective story. And the way that the box set is structured around what is effectively a 4-episode story is really, really novel. With the box set, you have With the Angels, episode 1 and episode 2, and then the cliffhanger of episode 2 leads into Catastrophics by Lizzie Hopley, and they have to spend those 2 episodes essentially getting out of the cliffhanger. The closest comparison I can think of is in Doctor Who Flux, series 13, where Once Upon Time is essentially a full episode trying to escape the cliffhanger at the end of War of the Sontarans. And with Catastrophics, Harry and Naomi have been scattered across time, and the Doctor has to find a way to save them. Harry has been sent back into the past where he's working with UNIT again. Naomi has been sent to the near future in a post-apocalyptic Earth, and the Doctor is spreading himself thin trying to bring all of these sides back together, with the main narrative through line being the organisation Catastrophics, which was an organisation set up by a group of teenagers in the 1980s, where they fund and build doomsday shelters and doomsday prep for the ultra-rich and the ultra-elite. Catastrophics started in the Lake District by this young boy named Maddock, played by Dayan Brony, and in the 1980s he's been sent away to a summer camp to help him with survival and team building skills. And who is running this workshop, who is running this? It's Ray from Delta and the Bannermen, played by Sarah Griffiths, and that's how she joins the story. Even though this box set was recorded nearly 40 years after Delta and the Bannermen, this story and Ray's reintroduction takes place around 20 years after that story's events. Ray has spent that time pondering what could have been, whether or not she could have travelled with the Doctor, and because of the events of Catastrophics, she's going to get her wish.
We can take some supplies from here, but most of what we need is in the barn.
Sure.
And you can tell me about your aliens. What were they? Little green men?
Little green baby, actually.
What?
Nothing. Forget I said anything. Sometimes I wonder if I dreamt it all myself. All I know is, Maddock, if a life-changing opportunity comes your way, you must never let it go. Or disappear in a little blue box.
You remind me of him. Grandad. The things you say.
I'd like to meet him.
He doesn't like strangers, sorry. I can show you his hobby. He doesn't do it anymore, but I've been working on it. It's in the barn.
Go on then, Maddock. Lead the way.
Before we dive deeper into Catastrophics, I haven't recently watched Delta and the Bannermen. I sort of associate that story with many Third Doctor stories where, like, nearly 20 years ago, I would watch them on UK TV Gold, like, at 6 a.m. in the morning. I haven't watched that story in a long time, so I don't really remember much about Ray. I don't really have any sort of attachment to the character. So if there was a lot of callbacks and references or anything being paid off from Delta and the Bannermen to here, then I don't really recall it, I apologise. But I think that Catastrophics is a really strong, kinetically charged story. It's very propulsive, it's very fast-paced. It opens effectively with Naomi having to be pulled on board her ship because she's just been dropped in the ocean of a post-apocalyptic Earth, where everything around her is on fire, there's people screaming, it's all going to pot. It kind of reminded me of the opening of the game BioShock. With that opening, the story just grabs you by the lapels and it doesn't really let go for 2 episodes. I think that the actual main plot, I wasn't really too engaged with it. I wasn't really invested in Maddock. I wasn't invested in his childhood buddy slash friend Sally. I think the idea of this doomsday prepping organisation that was funded through the dark web being started up by a young teenage incel, I think that's an interesting idea. There's something about the execution that I don't really think really worked. I think that it kind of diminished the idea of like childhood bullying and, you know, he was bullied as a kid. That's why he started this horrible organisation. I don't know. It took a really interesting idea and one that is quite topical. I think Lizzie Hopley does have her finger on the pulse of this particular topic where, you know, with climate change and everything happening in the current day, you are seeing very frequent news reports of these very elite and very rich individuals like Elon Musk and like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. They are building doomsday bunkers because they know that what they're doing is ending the world and they want to kind of ride it out. Like, this is something that is currently literally happening right now, but I think that this story Catastrophics kind of wants to boil it down until the substance has kind of been evaporated. But I think what makes Catastrophix work ultimately is that propulsive energy, is the hopping back and forth between these time zones with the Seventh Doctor. I think it's a really novel and satisfying way for Harry and Naomi to ultimately depart from this Doctor, and I'm genuinely interested in where their stories take them next, particularly Naomi. We know that Harry Sullivan is going to have adventures with Sarah Jane Smith. We've got the Smith and Sullivan Reunited box set. He's even going to be joined by K9 as well in a pseudo K9 and Company sequel. But in terms of what's going to happen to Naomi, at time of recording this video, she doesn't have any upcoming future Big Finish appearances that have been publicly announced. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm quite ready to say goodbye to Naomi just yet, but we'll see what happens. She could be a part of UNIT again. Or who knows, give it enough time and she'll be travelling with the 10th Doctor next, because it all just boils down to the 10th Doctor at the end of the day. But yeah, really satisfying ending, not just with Ray joining the TARDIS in a really wonderfully emotive scene that, like I said, even someone who hasn't watched Delta and the Bannerman for like 20 years, I thought was really effective, but also Naomi having her trust in the Doctor tested. I think that maybe they could have set that up a bit more in previous box sets, but in this particular story, it's an extreme immediate commitment, and whether or not Naomi rises to it, I thought it was really compelling stuff. And then with Harry and Naomi gone and Ray on board, the 7th Doctor has some unfinished business with the Angels Part 2. I won't really dive too deeply into what's going on there because that requires a lot of spoiler stuff and a lot of paying off of the themes and the ideas that were set up. I think that the Bladukas family, you know, like I said earlier, they kind of suffer from the same issues where only Irving is the one who's properly developed, and I think that kind of undercuts the Succession parallels here. But the way that the Weeping Angel is characterized and the added lore that they give it, and when it ultimately does start regaining its normal form again and the new abilities it has, that stuff is really, really cool. While the box set structure of losing the current crop of companions midway through and bringing in a new one to conclude the story, while that's really interesting and novel, there is the inherent structural issue of, with the Angels Part 2, having to re-establish and re-explain what's going on in the story for Ray's benefit, even though the audience are already clued in. It means that with the Angels Part 2 starts quite slowly, and considering how fast and propulsive Catastrophix was, going from one story to another is like proper hitting the handbrakes. If you're listening to this box set, I don't recommend binging it in one go. I think have a pause between Catastrophix and With the Angels Part 2, even if it's just like a day. But for me, the most interesting part about this box set is the 7th Doctor ultimately becoming a victim of his own approach, as in, he is now the one being manipulated. He is the one who is now just relegated to being a chess piece being manipulated by another bigger, grander figure. And the way he reacts to that and the way he responds to that, that's the compelling stuff.
You want a game of chess, now?
Why not? It would seem terribly civilized. On one condition, though. If I win, you let your guests go.
You're acting as if I don't have all the power here.
We're trapped at sea on a yacht you own. I don't think I'm under any illusions about that. What do you say? One game. I understand that for the wealthy, these things are not bought to be used. They're status symbols, wines you don't drink, cars you don't drive, houses left empty, and art locked up in vaults never to be enjoyed.
Well, someone sounds jealous.
Of money? Never.
They say it can't buy you happiness. Maybe it can't, but it can buy you things, and things can make you happy.
Are you happy, Irving? Truly?
Of course I am.
Or do you just keep wanting more and more, never satisfied with what you have, holding gold like a dragon in a fairy tale?
Past Forward is a very, very satisfying end to the Harry and Naomi arc, and it is setting up a new one with Ray. As we appear to be approaching the 7th Doctor's final outings with Big Finish, I think that's kind of what they're setting up here. But either way, Past Forward is a really unique box set that's very interestingly structured, with a very inventive Weeping Angel story at the centerpiece of it. Catastrophix as a story is a bit hit and miss, but it is very compelling. It is just very, very energetic. It's kind of hard to stop listening to it once you've started because of how it's bouncing through all the time periods, but still making it feel cohesive. It's still quite easy to follow in a way that's really ideal for audio that might have backfired if this was in a visual medium. I think that out of the 7th Doctor and Naomi cross stories, I think that Far From Home might be the best one, but Past Forward is a very, very close second. I think that this has been a really satisfying arc overall for the 7th Doctor. That's now leading to potentially more interesting things moving forward. But that's my review of the 7th Doctor Adventures Past Forward. I hope you folks enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of the box set. Hit the like button, it really, really helps me out. Subscribe for more Big Finish reviews. And from my hotel room, folks, I'll see you all next time.